What's up, blockchain Bitsgap crew? How y'all doing today? Hope this day finds you well and large profits falling straight into your lap. Things are going pretty dang good. I'm about to switch up modes over at Bitsgap, and it's been a little bit since I did an update. I plan to be doing a lot more of these updates, but I was in kind of a chill mode with my bots because we had that little drift down in the market. So I had set my bots up for safer earnings so as not to just lose a whole bunch of BTC, ETH, and USDT. So I switched my bots over during more, downward trends or things that where the trend's looking very bullish or very bearish, there's not near as much opportunity for like squeezing out those, quick 10%, those quick 20%, and in a few days with a tight grid, crazy space, tight grid, lots of money poured in. And because when you have a large chance of it going up or crabbing out, going sideways, it's easier to to rake gains out of this thing than it is when the thing's trailing down, especially if you're just using the spot bots, because I'm not using the futures bot yet because it's still only available on Binance. I'm waiting for them to make that available on exchanges that I can use, right? So, and especially, a no KYC exchange. So there's all that. So now that the market's come back a little bit and it looks like we're about to hit those bullish trends, I am going to be doing some slightly more aggressive bots, and I had set these up as less aggressive. Really quick, look at this here. This is Tell ETH. This is the history of what I have ran for it, right? If you go, into your spot history, click on pair, then you can go and alphabetically get down to the pair that you're looking to look at. And look, I've ran Tell ETH multiple times. I had a 41% profit right here, 56% in trading profits, but 41% in just straight profit. But I kept all that crypto. I rolled it again, ran it for, looks like just one day, 17 hours, made 3.91% in crypto, but it had dipped. And so there was a 1.91% loss. But that's not really important to me because what really mattered to me was this here, right? In this Tell ETH bot, I made a 28.68% profit on both the trading, and so that was basically a sideways looking market, but I had 11 days, 2.61%. This bot has been a giver. I'm not saying it's always going to be a giver. Generally, as things go throughout time and more people get on the playing field, there's generally a lot less room for the ball to get kicked around, right? So what we're doing here at Bitsgap is we're becoming the market, right? Like we're like a lot of successful traders think. You kind of get yourself in between the checkout counter and the customer and start wheeling and dealing, right? Set up a whole bunch of trades, a bunch of things to say that you'll buy, and put up a bunch of stuff for sell, and you're basically standing between you and the checkout counter, and people are coming to you instead. And that's kind of what you end up doing here with Bitsgap is, you set up all over the exchange with these grids, which I do. I've been grid trading for years, even without bots. As it goes down, it buys, goes up, you sell, and all that good stuff. What really matters is this percentage on this side, because that's the percentage gain that you're getting within the bot, right? This is the trading profits that it's made. And if you're just grabbing up crypto, well, that works pretty good. And if you're just doing Tell ETH bots, you can take any ETH that it put in and compound back in. It gets a little more confusing if you're running multiple bots that are paying out in ETH. Moving on down, took 11% loss there because the market drifted on down, obviously, and 2.41% in trading profits, 6.29%. Here was a delicious one. This one was just not long ago on the 15th of July, made 2.21% for 4 days. 8.83% profit. Nice. On this Tell ETH day here, this one was not the best bot. I ran that for 2 days and 10 hours and took a 6.41% loss total. And it did pay out in some ETH, and I rolled that ETH all back in and ended up with a smaller bot. See what's going on here? 0.8, 0.9. Oh, actually, the problem with this one was that I had spent the ETH on another bot. So I didn't have it to roll back in. So even though it printed out some these two different pairs of ETH, I didn't roll that back in. So now it brings us up to the current bot, and I got here Tell ETH. It's gone down a little to 0.8 ETH. But no big deal. Because that, the rest of that ETH I had rolled into something else. So I actually rolled it into this AXPR ETH bot. And it hasn't been doing anything, has it? AXPR ETH is in 1 day and 11 hours has negatively traded. Still hasn't moved. Let's take a look at that thing. Yeah, that's usually when you get this weird type of choppiness, it's you can get some pretty good bounces and pretty good jumps out of there. I'm a pretty bullish overall on the AXPR project. I think they've got some good stuff going on, and right now we're pretty much at all-time lows. We've had a candle flash down to here. That's a little far away because we're on 12 hours. I mean, that's like months apart. But if at any time it drips down, you can rest assured almost that it's going to hit that again. So especially if it wicks down, like if you got a candle that wicked down to here, for me, I think that the whole thing's coming down here, right? Like if I saw a candle that like wicked down to here and then bounced right back up, I would think in the next little while it's going to come down and test. And that's like has always happened across all markets. I don't know why. It just works that way. So AXPR looking to get some good funds. It hasn't ran yet, and it's like third tier down. You get Bitcoin and Ethereum will run, and then all your blue chips run, and then it goes down the ladder, and you can't really consider AXPR a blue chip at this point. So back to that Tell ETH bot. Here's where we're at now. There's some downward room to go, but I've ridden this thing up and down all over. And it's funny because look at how many candles negative that is in a row. And that's the opposite of what's been happening with most cryptos, right? So but it's against ETH because ETH is running and ETH looks the exact opposite against BTC, not BTC, but against USDT and probably BTC. But all those red candles in a row, those are all green candles printed on the Ethereum side, right? So when this thing breaks down, and this happens, like I said, in many, many markets, ETH runs first. And when you come to an ETH chart, it makes everything else go suppressed, right? Well, it can't stay down there forever. It consolidates that energy. And yes, ETH will keep running up, and this will power down, and that's your chance to get as much as you can and then wait. And then this thing, like a rubber band, should spring back up closer to where you are. And, like I always call it, a leveraged play. Tell is a leveraged play on Ethereum or Bitcoin, and as should spring around. Anyway, so we're here collecting volatility, right? So back to the strategy. I'm going to switch this up to a more aggressive strategies, hitting like 10 grids, going after a lot of Bitcoin, Ethereum pairs, maybe some USDT pairs. But what I consider a easier strategy when the market is crabbing out or going down a little bit is to get yourself bots like this. Look at this. I have .KCS bot, right? And that thing's been running for 20 days, printed me 0.9% a day for 20 days. And I ran it more than once. And you'll see how many KCS bots I have. Really, I only have 2 BTC bots. I have a Trios BTC bot and a Cody BTC bot, and that Cody BTC bot's only been there for 3 days. I did run the Trios BTC bot through most of the sideways market, but for the most part, I turned off my ETH bots, my BTC bots. I switched into Tron bots, KCS bots. I mean, look at all this KCS I've printed. Dash KCS, $230 worth. Link KCS, $120 worth. BNB KCS. And so even though the value of all these cryptos during this last little dip, it all went down, but so did the KCS, and now it's all bouncing up, and so is the KCS. So kind of like rode together. So all we're looking to do is wiggle, but you don't range out so much like you did with Bitcoin. I'm sure you noticed it, like your USDT bots when we had that crazy dip and the bounce back and all that different stuff, and we were having these rough markets there for a while. Liquidity floods out in droves of these, and it's like one at a time, like because a little bit of liquidity starts coming out of one market, and then boom, it all comes out, and now it ranges out, and then you're stuck in a bad position. And to where I switched all this stuff into these what I call crab bots. KCS Luna, KCS ADA. I ran this Luna one multiple times, and it performed well because Luna happened to do pretty well. Atom is doing really well right now. I ran that a few times, and I've used all of this KCS that I've got. I got myself set up with some stuff over here on KuSwap. I have put some of the profit over here on KuCoin. And I just loaded into these DeFi protocols, and they're printing out pretty good, they're farms, and they're printing out pretty good APYs. And I did that all with straight profits from Bitsgap. And I took those Bitsgap crab market bots and just printed, and I actually reinvested some of the KCS back in. But if we look at even the I emptied this out a few days ago, and I already have 9 KCS. So it's made this, these bots have printed me another $100 worth of KCS that I can refold back in or ship out, and I'll probably get it over on the KCS chain, the KuCoin smart chain. By the way, it's free to transfer anything to, if you set your MetaMask up, you get the KuCoin extension or whatever, the KuCoin chain on there, and watch my video for that. I'll tell you exactly how to do that. And from there, withdrawing out of your KuCoin account onto the KuCoin chain is absolutely free, and it's quick and it's easy, and it's nice. And if you're looking to do that, there's a link in the description for KuCoin. Helps everyone out. BNB KCS 5. That's been probably the lowest performer out of all of them, and I've ran that a few times. I'm running it at 14 days again. And yeah, look at it. You can't go wrong, right? I mean, it's just trading, making profits. If I had tightened these grids up quite a bit, then it would, transfer, I would be making higher gains because it would be hitting, but it wouldn't be as safe, but it would be doing larger lots, right? If you take the same liquidity and focused it in like that, then it's trading larger lots per trade. Now, you may have noticed we got this trailing down feature. It was super glitchy at first. Trailing function automatically moves the grid down when the market price decreases. So how that looks, right? Say this dips down here, and I did actually use it a few times. I have it set up on 1. It wasn't working. It just launched. So by the time you may be watching this, it's probably working just fine. But when it ranges down, basically, if it comes out of this range, what it's going to try to do is take this top grid and move it down here. And then it goes down a little bit more, and it takes this top grid and move it down here. Now, someone asked, if you bought this for $10 and it moves it down here and sells it for $7, aren't you just screwing yourself? And the answer is yes. And you can definitely really, screw yourself with trailing down. But because it's doing it one grid at a time, it's kind of smart money management, Like it comes down, it gets rid of that one grid, it sells this one up here. So let's say you did buy this at 10 and you're selling it at 7. But then the bot, comes down a little bit more, comes back up, and then it took that thing, what you sold at 7, and it sells it at 8. And then it comes back down, maybe buys it again at, or we can use this exact chart, right? So say it's right here at 6.8. If it was at 6.8 or sold, you sold at 7, and it took your grid that it was supposed to be at 6.8 here and moved it down here to 5.5. And they're like, well, isn't that just taking a loss? And the answer is, of course, yes. But like I said, if it comes down here and it's moving around, the point is that it will buy and sell that same crypto a whole bunch by the time you got here, back up, and then it will sell it for 10 again eventually, right? When it comes back up or gets up here, and you will sell for 6.8 again, but hopefully in the meantime, you will bought and sold it 5 or 6 times, gaining yourself a bunch of extra crypto. That's the whole point of the trailing down. It's not flawless. It's not going to work every single time, but it will work a lot of the time. And it works a lot better on the crypto to crypto pairs than it does on anything else. And here was the official announcement. We're excited to announce the trailing down is finally here. The long anticipated feature allows Bitsgap's trading bots to continue working on the down falling market when an asset price moves below the trading range. How does it work? Trading down starts working when the asset price crosses the bottom line of your grid. The system checks the available balance if it is enough to place a new buy order. If the balance is okay, it cancels the sell order on the top of the grid. Then it places the limit buy order to instantly purchase the asset. Finally, the system creates a new sell order below the bottom line of the grid with the same grid spacing. When the feature is active, the system repeats this sequence as long as the asset price stays below the bottom line of your bots range, and that was this number. I have it set up on this ADA one, and you'll see I have, oh no, I thought I had it on that one right here, TD, this one, XPR. So I do have the trailing down set there, and then you will notice that there is this line here, and that's what they're talking about, this trailing down thing. And you know, use it how you will. When the feature is active, the system repeats the sequence as long as the asset price stays below the bottom line of your grid's bots. Can I use it with my existing bots? It says you can turn it on existing bots. I haven't got that to work. That doesn't work for me, so I had to reset my bot in order to get it to work. So there's all that. Can I use it with the basic plan? The answer is yes right now, but eventually it will only be for the pro plan, which is probably a good idea because this thing could actually cause people to lose money, and if they just range out and waited for the bot to range back in, someone who didn't know what they were doing, and especially if they're trading cash bots, might be a lot better off. So the fact that it's only in the pro subscription plan might actually be a good idea, but you know, it does make these bots a lot more passive, right? You could set this thing up now and walk away for a long period of time and come back and, like, you know, set up the trailing up, set up the trailing down, and, you know, put your, don't use any stop losses, or put it way down, and you can walk away for a month, you know, and come back, or months and come back. I think it's pretty interesting, and I'm really interested in trying out some different strategies, and that's why I'm going to be doing a little bit more aggressive stuff, because what I'm thinking is we have a lot of different options with that, right? We can take this and we could try just to run the minimum amount of grids, which on the S bot is 10 grids, on the classic bot it's 20 grids, but run the minimum amount of grids with as much, you know, put as much bang in there as you can, especially on, say, like a Bitcoin Ethereum pairs, and as it wiggles around, you know, it's moving 10 grids down and, you know, moving a large pile of cash around in a short spacing, focusing your liquidity. Who knows how it's going to work? I have a feeling that we'll be able to maximize some nice gains out of that, but it may, you know, accelerate your losses the other direction as well. We will see. I will be fumbling around with that quite a bit, and that's what I do. I experiment to death. I keep you guys all up to date if you're in my Bitsgap group, if you're on my team, and the signals have been killing it. So, you know, if you're in Bitsgap, sorry, this group's not for you, but if you want to join Bitsgap and you want to join my Bitsgap team, we give professional signals in our group, and they have, you know, you get a couple different hits, like, you know, you get a couple different targets. The first target is like 90% success rate. So, you know, with that, you can, you know, use proper money management, you know, put, you know, if you have, $10,000, still put $200 in each one. You know, use a small little lot on each one of the signals, and they'll pay off well for you. But you also get, you know, I post my bots in there all the time, and I'm there to help you guys and all that good stuff. And we like smart minds, and we could use some more. So if you want to join Bitsgap, you want to take a run at this, and you want some free, high quality signals, join us. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. Crypto Music. Gonna catch you guys on the flip. Catch you on the next one. I'm out.